folks, Scott here with my 10-card one-kit video featuring the My Monthly Hero September 2019 Cabinet of Curiosities kit. This kit builds on the Hero Arts line of peekaboo stamps and dies. Let's see what we got. So this is our 6 by 8 inch stamp set featuring this great big cabinet of drawers and shelves. These are all individual stamps inside those squares. They are not part of those squares. They come out. This is a massive array of little bitty stamps. Of course, everything fits in these little boxes and drawers over here, but there are like 30 images in this stamp set. There's 8 drawer pulls and labels. Well, I guess these are together, aren't they? 6 drawer pulls and labels, 16 different sentiments, even a little boo over here. This is a squash, a pumpkin, a skull. Very interesting. This is not only a good autumn kit, but it's actually a really nice Halloween kit. I don't think I've gotten anything specifically Halloween from Hero Arts in the past couple of years I've been with them. That's our 6 by 8 inch stamp set. We do get that peekaboo drawers fancy frame, which will cut out all of the drawers on our cabinet stamp. And then we get 3 fancy dies. We've got Happy Halloween and Treasure, and there's a big question mark right there. Those are our dies this month. We do have some extras this month as well. We have a little pot of silk ink, bronze silk ink. I don't think this is the same as the shimmer inks we got last month, but it is in the line of their inks. A silk ink bronze color, very appropriate. We have little itty bitty charms, little honeybees and little keys, 5 bees and 5 keys. Then we do get some papers this month. We've got 6 sheets of 5.5 by 8.5 inch cardstocks. So very pretty. I like these wood grain ones. These are a rich copper, urban bacilla black, and wood abachi solid. Those are our 6 sheets of cardstock. Very unique. That's our kit contents this month. These are a little bit of a one-trick pony kit, but I will do my best to see if I can come up with 10 unique cards using the supplies in this kit. Our Cabinet of Curiosities. And here are our 10 cards for this month. We've got a couple of craft card bases, a lot of white card bases, one nice brown card base. Unfortunately, I did get a cabinet stamp that had some manufacturing defects. So I got in touch with Hero Arts. They, of course, agreed to send me a new stamp set as soon as possible. Now, I had to start making something while I was waiting for that new stamp to arrive. So for my first card on a white card base, we've got an Autumn Greetings card. This is kind of a wreath. I think this became more of a whirlwind than a wreath. I originally thought this was going to be a wreath. I used my little homemade wreath builder template. I managed to get 16 leaves in a circle. I was really pleased with that. But then I thought the center looked a little empty, so I put some more leaves in there and the mushroom in there, and all of a sudden I didn't have a wreath anymore. So I simply took one of my Doris nesting circle dies and I die cut that wreath out. This is stamped on Bristol smooth cardstock with VersaFine Onyx black ink. I did color all these leaves with my Zig Clean color markers. I love the color progression here that we go from green to yellow to orange to red and then back to green again. I think that's quite interesting, and it does kind of look like a whirlwind of leaves. I matted that circle piece on a thin black mat, and then cut a 3-inch piece of that black specialty cardstock, glued that to my white card base. I did run a couple of Love from Lizzie black peel-offs down the sides of that just to finish those edges off nicely. I stamped the autumn greetings on a scrap of white cardstock with onyx black ink, and I embossed that with some clear embossing powder. There's that little shine there. And then I die cut that out with a little Darice leaf die. Fit perfectly for that little sentiment. I mounted our matted circle and our leaf sentiment up with some foam tape on the front of this card. This is our first leafy whirlwind, autumn greetings. And I've never been a person that sends out a lot of Halloween or autumn cards, but I always like coloring a nice pretty autumn card. There's an autumn greetings for us, kicks us off this month. Now, I of course had stamped that cabinet. I realized that there was a certain portion of that cabinet stamp that didn't have any defects on it. So for my second card, this is on a nice brown card base. We've got Here is a Key to My Heart, with this lovely partial cabinet here. This is kind of like one of those Japanese tansu stacked cabinet things. I cut that out. This is stamped on Bristol Smooth cardstock with onyx black ink. I cut that out. I colored all of the drawers with my Zig Clean color markers. I did stamp all of the handles and the little label holder pulls with the same onyx black ink. And I did separate these two handle and label stamps. I just cut those pieces apart so I could use the handles independently and the labels independently. So that's how I got all of those handles and labels on this. I colored all of the handles and the label frames with that gold glimmer metallic ink from last month's kit. And then I did use that bronze silk ink for all of the connectors on the cabinet. I did do the edges of the cabinet in a pretty dark color to camouflage some of the joinery pieces that were left when I cut this away from the full stamp. I did stamp all of those label holders on just a piece of parchment paper. Just scribbled some nonsense in the labels there and then fussy cut them out. I then glued those into the spaces on the labels. Those are some really tiny pieces. I did fussy cut 3 of those drawers. So 3 of those drawers do open up. We've got a keyhole and a key and the heart. Those are all stamps from this stamp set. Here is a key to my heart. Now, I was looking for a background paper for this card when I came across this really interesting image of a card catalog. So I put that into my Silhouette software and I scaled it up a little bigger, and then I printed it at 25% intensity. So this is 25, this is 50, I believe. This was too much, you almost lose it. This is 25%, which is really nice. Kind of looks like a piece of vellum is over that card catalog in the background. Absolutely just what I was looking for, a little interest in the background that reinforces our cabinets in the front. I die cut that piece with a Lawn Fawn stitched rectangle die and matted that on a piece of ivory cardstock. I did outline that with some gold Love from Lizzie peel-offs for a little shine around that background. I did mat my cabinet cut out on another piece of my ivory cardstock, and I stamped all of the 3 drawer images on that mat. Glued those both together. I added this whole cabinet to the card front with some foam tape. I added a little key charm and a little heart brad from my stash to the sentiment. Here is a key to my heart, a very masculine love you card. I really like those wooden file drawers. I think they look really terrific, and I really like that tansu cabinet type thing. You can cut up this cabinet stamp in a variety of ways, make anywhere from 1 drawer to 2 drawers to 3 drawers to 5 drawers to all 24 drawers. Now, we did get that great Happy Halloween die cut in our kit this month. I don't think I have a Happy Halloween die cut. So this is my first Happy Halloween die cut sentiment in my stash on a white card base. We've got a Happy Halloween card. A very adult Halloween card. Now, I did cut that Happy Halloween die out of that rich copper specialty paper we got in our kit. I also cut it out of 2 pieces of black cardstock. I glued those all together to make a nice chunky sentiment. You get some nice shadows there. I stamped the skulls, the spider web, and the spider on some plain white cardstock, attached that to our white card base, and used some of the Love from Lizzie copper peel-offs to make partial frames around that. Really nice, very sharp, very adult, not cutesy at all. A really nice Happy Halloween card. Of course, even I couldn't resist adding a little boo on the inside. Happy Halloween. I think that would make a great Halloween invitation for a grown-up Halloween party. Let's break out the witch's brew. Now, I had this idea for the cabinet stamp that I thought was quite fun, and I figured that I could camouflage the imperfections in my stamp if I colored the cabinets dark. So this is my next card on a white card base, and we've got our cabinet stamp, all in gray. I stamped this using VersaFine Onyx Black ink. I stamped this on some Nina Solar White 110-pound cardstock, and I colored this with my Spectrum Noir alcohol markers. These are all of the first 4 ice gray markers in my stash. I did stamp all of these handles as well, and then I colored all of these handles using a silver Sharpie, an ultrafine point silver Sharpie. All of the handles are colored with that silver. Nothing opens. This is just a plain, simple, 1-layer card. It's not until you open it up that you get "You can handle anything." And if you can handle that, I think you can handle anything. I really like this card. Because of this dark frame, I was really able to camouflage most of my stamp sins. You can see a little extra line there, a little mist stamp over here. But I thought that worked really well. I was dying to play with that cabinet stamp. All of those handles. You can handle anything. This would be a marvelous thank you card. This would also be a great encouragement card. You can handle anything. Now, I thought it was interesting that we actually have a few solid silhouette stamps. The heart, there's this squash here, the pumpkin, the skull. I've already used the skull. What about the pumpkin and the squash? Those are the only stamps that don't really have any detail to them. They're just solid silhouette stamps. So for my next card, I figured I could handle another Halloween card on a white card base. We get, oh my gourd, it's Halloween. Another very adult, rather masculine Halloween card. Now, I stamped the pumpkins and the squash on just a piece of white cardstock. I used the Hero Hues creamsicle for the pumpkins, and then I did the shading on the pumpkins using Spice Marmalade Distress Oxide ink. Then I used the Hero Hues Lemon Drop ink for the squash, and I did the little shadows on the squash using Fossilized Amber Distress Oxide ink. Now, those 2 brands of inks worked really well together. I think we got some terrific, nice, subtle, yet very seeable shadings on these solid stamps here. I thought it came out really, really nice. I die cut the Happy Halloween die cut out of a piece of the Pumpkin Hero Hues cardstock. 2 more of those from black cardstock. And I trimmed off the happy and glued all 3 of those together for a nice chunky sentiment. I die cut my stamped piece with a stitched rectangle die. I used some antique linen distress ink to do a little sponging on the edges, and then matted that on a really thin black mat. Then we've got the Hero Hues mustard cardstock for a mat, and then another thin black mat behind that, and finally the Hero Hues pumpkin cardstock for our final mat. All of those are glued down to a white card base. Oh my gourd, it's Halloween! There's a nice pun for us this month. Nothing on the inside. A nice, again, not cutesy Halloween card. Now, I haven't received my replacement stamp yet, so I thought I'd just try working with the Peekaboo Drawers fancy die on a craft cardstock we got. A nice little shadow box on the front, but there's one drawer front still there. I die cut that drawer die from 5 pieces of white cardstock, trimmed the doors off on all of those. If you don't believe me, look at all these door pieces I cut away from that die this month. So there are 5 white cardstocks all glued together here. I did use that bronze silk ink to color the edges, the inside edges of all of these shadow boxes. I did finally die cut one more of the drawer dies and trimmed out all of the drawer fronts except one. I left one drawer front here. I did stamp that handle there and colored. This is all colored with my colored pencils. Colored pencils work very well on craft cardstock. I think that's very interesting. I think it really looks like a big shadow box, almost a museum display, but there's something behind that door. I did trim a little notch in the center there to let my recipient know that there is something behind there, and we've got I treasure our friendship. That's a sentiment from the stamp set, stamped on a scrap of ivory cardstock, a little distress inking around its edges. You open up the card and you've got "You are a rare find." I think those two sentiments go very nicely together. I treasure our friendship. You are a rare find. A great friendship card, really interesting. I like all of these stamps. I thought they're lots of fun to color, especially using simple colored pencils. I did add 2 of the little bee charms right there in the middle, just to give a little shine to the front of this card. I really like that this drawer kind of closes perfectly because of the depth of our shadow box. That drawer front just slips in there very nicely. You can either pop it open or use a really little bitty fingernail to dig into that notch there. A really nice friendship card. I treasure our friendship as much, if not more, than all the crap I put on my shelves. You are a rare find. So finally, I got my replacement stamp. It stamped perfectly. I was really excited. Finally, I get to do a cabinet of curiosities with all 24 drawers on a craft card base. We've got "You are one of a kind. You are a keeper. You bring joy." Handles and label makers on the front of all of these, and everything has something inside. All of these drawers open, every single one of them. I used 24 of our stamps here. Now, Josemary Gonzalez over on the Hero Arts Fanatics Facebook page mentioned using that bronze silk ink without shaking up the glitter in it, and using it just without the glitter. So that's what I did here, actually. This is that bronze silk ink, full strength, without being shaken up, but full strength on a piece of white cardstock. And then this is that same ink diluted with water, just watered down, gave us this really nice wood texture. It worked very nicely. I did actually just paint the entire card front. Then I stamped the cabinet stamp on it. Then I die cut it. I got the die cut just perfectly on this. I did stamp all of the images on the inside on a piece of Bristol Smooth cardstock. Now, I did take that drawer die and I did create a template with this so I could use this in my stamp platform and just arrange all of these stamps in these openings and stamp them all at the same time instead of having to stamp each little image at a time. These are fun. There's the skull. Now, I did a little stamp surgery. We have this 3 vial stamp here. I cut those 3 vials apart so I could use them independently. You'll see here, well, you can see on this one, there's 3, 4, 5. I think I've got 5 vials on here, and there's actually only 3 vial stamps. Again, on this, in this orientation, it seems like there's a lot more vertical drawers, so I thought I could get away with more vertical images. There's that partial cobweb. I actually used the nest on this one. There's that great big apothecary jar, and there's our other growing plant there. This is the butterfly. I used the moth over here. A leaf again. Of course, that key again. There's another one of those apothecary bottles. The bird skull, the spider, the feather, the mushrooms, everything on the front of this card. I thought there was more to be said here after saying, you're one of a kind, you are a keeper, you bring joy. Love you. Great love you card. You are one of a kind. After painting the front of this with that bronze silk ink, I used my Zig Clean Color markers, a dark brown, to do the cabinet edges. And then I also used my Uniball gold gel pen to color all of the little connectors on the cabinet. I did take my white gouache, my permanent white gouache, and I painted all those labels with that white gouache instead of cutting them. It was much easier to paint them, trust me. A nice, large, full-size card with 24 cabinet drawers, something behind each. This is really a time commitment. Of course, you don't have to open every drawer. Of course, you don't have to stamp something on the front of every drawer, but I thought that that's what they were begging us to do, and I really like this. This is really a nice, fun, interactive card. It's very interesting to see what else are behind those doors. Really fun. Our Cabinet of Curiosities Love You card. Now, we also had that treasure die cut that I got this quote stuck in my head the first time I saw this treasure die cut. I couldn't get it out of my head. On a white card base, we've got, "For where your treasure is, there will your heart be also." That's actually a Bible quote from Luke 12:34. This quote is actually in Matthew 2 in the Sermon on the Mount. One of the few Bible verses, this of course is the King James Version, one of the few Bible verses that are repeated verbatim twice in the New Testament. Now, I, of course, turned to my Silhouette software, and using the typewriter hand font, I printed this on a piece of my ivory cardstock. I used the same typewriter hand font on all of my other sentiments. I will have links to that font on my website at CardCutups.com. I die cut this ivory cardstock with a Spellbinder deckled rectangle die. It's nice, works very nice, kind of feels like a treasure map, kind of treasure mappy. I, of course, ink blended the edges. I used antique linen and frayed burlap distress inks. For where your treasure is, there will your heart be also. And I treasure you. Now, I did steal that I from the I Treasure Our Friendship sentiment stamp and the Treasure You from our stamp set, and put those both together for the I Treasure You on the inside of this card. I thought that tempered down the preachy part of this sentiment, "For where your treasure is, there will your heart be also," and I treasure you. I added again another one of those little heart brads from my stash. I used one of my Lawn Fawn stitched rectangle dies to cut out a piece of that brown specialty paper from our kit, to use that as a mat. I glued that down to a nice tan card front from my stash. Another great masculine Valentine or love you card. I think one of my favorite mini image stamps from this stamp set is this collection of crystals over here, this little collection of quartz crystals over there. I think that's my favorite little mini stamp. I wanted to feature that on a card on a white card base. We've got a You Rock of quartz. Another little pun. I really like this card. I couldn't do any more cabinets at this point. You Rock of quartz. I did stamp that quartz stamp on a piece of Bristol Smooth cardstock. I stamped that with VersaFine Onyx Black ink 3 times. I did cut a little mask for that center crystal bundle and stamped the side. So there's a tiny bit of overlap on the 2 sides, but my mask masked that off. I colored these in purple, green, and orange using my Zig markers. Then I added a little bit of my Sakura glitter gel pen around that for a little sparkle. Can we see that there? There they go. And a little Spectrum Noir sparkle pen for some glitter on the gems itself. You Rock of quartz. I created that on using my Silhouette software. Again, that is the typewriter hand font. This was my original little template to see if this card would work. I really like the colors on this. I did die cut that piece of Bristol Smooth cardstock with a Lawn Fawn stitched rectangle die, put a very thin black mat behind that, mounted that to my white card base. I really love the white space on this card. This is a terrific thank you card, a terrific encouragement card, a terrific card all around. You Rock of quartz. Nothing on the inside. I really dig that white space. This card made me realize that I could break away from the autumnal color palette and or the wooden or metal cabinet fall Halloween palette for this kit. So for my last card on a white card base, we've got You Are a Work of Art. This is my homage to Pete Mondrian. I die cut that drawer fancy die out of a piece of black cardstock. Immediately I thought of all of those great Mondrian paintings that are big color block paintings with the black outlines. I did go in and I turned these 2 3-drawer squares into a single drawer square. I did take these 2 squares over here and join those together for one. I think that looks so much like a Pete Mondrian painting. It's great. You are a work of art. Of course, all I had to do was cut some red, yellow, and blue cardstock to size. And then I simply printed You Are a Work of Art on my little square of red using, again, that same typewriter hand font. You Are a Work of Art. I think that's really terrific. A great encouragement card. And oh, such a nice, colorful, bright, cheerful card. So that's my 10 cards this month using the My Monthly Hero September 2019 card kit. Now, I didn't use each and every sentiment in this stamp set. There's 4 or 5 sentiments that I didn't use, but I did use every one of the image stamps, every one of the handles stamps. I did use some of our little charms. I used at least a piece of all 3 of our specialty cardstocks in the kit. I did use some of that bronze silk ink, actually quite a bit on this card, and I used all of the dies except for that question mark. I guess that question mark just didn't speak to me this month. I'm really pleased with the wide assortment of cards and the variety of looks I was able to get from what might seem at first glance to be a one-trick pony card kit. I think there's many opportunities with with trimming that cabinet stamp down to different cabinet shapes. Of course, all of those little bitty image stamps are so versatile and so useful in many different ways. Of course, just making a card using this stamp and die set as it was intended, anybody would be gobsmacked to receive a card like this in the mail. What a terrific interactive card. We managed to get a couple of Halloween cards, a friendship card, some Valentine's and love cards, a few encouragement cards, thank you cards. I think this is a really nice collection of basically very masculine cards this month. Yay! More options here than I originally thought. Now, as of posting, this kit is still available at Hero Arts. If you do go shopping at Hero Arts, please use my links in the description down below. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'm sorry this took a little bit of time to get out to you. I hope I was able to spark your imagination, maybe give you a new idea or two on how to use this kit this month. Thank you so much for sharing your time with me today. It is truly appreciated. Please remember to like me, list me, pin me, post me, share me with all of your friends. Don't run with scissors, and happy crafting. For more detailed information, better pictures, and product links, please visit my website at CardCutups.com.